Very good afternoon, class. Today I will be teaching on the topic uterine cancer. This topic is for BSc third year. So, uterine cancer, it may be referred to any of the several different types of cancer which occurs in the uterus. So, we know that uterus is a part of the female reproductive tract. Okay, so if there's any abnormal growth or any tumor which is present in the uterus, then we consider it as uterine cancer. Okay, and it may occur in the uterus, which is namely endometrial cancer. That is, it originates from the cells in the glands of the endometrium, that is the uterine lining. अगर कोई ट्यूमर है, कोई abnormal cell growth हो रहा है, that is starting from the cells in the glands of the endometrium. Okay, from the endometrium only it is starting to grow, then we call it as endometrial cancer. And second is cervical cancer. It arises from the transformation zone of the cervix, that is the lower portion of the uterus. So, in uterine cancer, it includes both the endometrial cancer and also the cervical cancer. ठीक है, तो endometrial cancer मतलब जो tumors है, it is starting from the endometrium, or it is starting from the uterine lining. Okay, and second is the cervical cancer, that is the tumor which is starting to grow from the cervix, that is the lower portion of the uterus. So these two are considered as uterine cancer. Okay. So coming to the pathophysiology, endometrial cancer, it forms when there are errors in the normal endometrial cell growth. कोई भी abnormality, कोई भी changes in the cell growth, then any error in the normal cell growth of the endometrium or the lining of the uterus, then that is endometrial cancer. Usually when cells grow old or get damaged, we know that they die, okay, and they are being replaced. So what happens is the cells, they grow, then they get damaged, they die, and वो replace हो जाते हैं. But cancer starts when the new cells, they form unneeded. Okay, they grow many times, or they grow in a very fast rate, and the old or damaged cells, they do not die, but they are still alive. Instead, they should be dead, and then new cells will be formed. But in cancer, what happens is the damaged cells or the old cells, they do not die. Okay, they are still alive and they still growing. So these abnormal cell growth, okay, leads to formation of the endometrial cancer. These abnormal cancer cells, they have many genetic abnormalities that causes them to grow excessively or in a fast rate. The mutations are found in a tumor suppressor gene, commonly called P53, or overexpression of P13K, which promotes the cell growth in endometrial cancer. So it has been found that in the abnormal cancer cells, okay, there are some changes or genetic changes or mutation, okay, and they are found in the tumor suppressor gene. एक specific gene है, उसका नाम है P53. Okay, it is a tumor suppressor gene. So if there are any changes in this specific gene, then what happens is it promotes or it increases the growth of these abnormal cells. So this is in the endometrial cancer. So this is the pathophysiology. Now coming to the risk factors. So what are the risk factors? Who are at a higher risk for developing endometrial cancer, or which females are at a higher risk for getting endometrial cancer? So number one is females having increased estrogen levels in the body. Okay, अगर estrogen levels ज़्यादा हो जाते हैं, then it can trigger the formation of abnormal cells. Okay, or then next is hormone therapy. In hormone therapy, what happens is we give estrogen, and a tablet estrogens, or it can be in the form of pills. Okay, so what happens is the level of the estrogen hormones increases, and this is a triggering factor for endometrial cancer. Third is obesity. Obesity is also, people who are obese also, they are at a higher risk for developing endometrial cancer. Then estrogen secreting tumors. Okay, So if there are any tumors or cancer cells which helps in secreting estrogen hormone, okay, then what happens is the estrogen level increases and it can lead to endometrial cancer. Next, if older people are at a higher risk for developing endometrial cancer. Infertility, okay, females who are infertile, they are not able to bear children or not able to have offspring. Okay, so those also they are at a higher risk for developing endometrial cancer. And last is genetics. Okay, so genetics, like I said, that mutation in the P13 genes, okay, or we call it as a tumor suppressive gene. So if there's any changes or any genetic changes in these genes, then what happens is patients will develop endometrial cancer, and this endometrial cancer, it can pass down from generation to generation. Next is Lynch syndrome, or it is also called hereditary colorectal cancer. Okay, so Lynch syndrome, it is a syndrome which results due to gene mutation or genetic errors that increases the risk of colon cancer and other cancers, including endometrial cancer. So people who are suffering from Lynch syndrome, so they are also at a higher risk for developing endometrial cancer. Why? Because there is a genetic mutation, okay, and it increases the risk of colon cancer. So patients having colon cancer also, they can also develop endometrial cancer. Next, endometrial hyperplasia, that is females suffering from endometrial hyperplasia, where the endometrium, the size of the endometrium is very thick. Okay, so the thickness is 6.7 millimeters, so it is very thick. So that also can, they are at a high risk for developing endometrial cancer. Then viral infection like HPV virus, okay, these also can cause uterine cancer. Some evidence shows that tobacco smoking reduces the rate of progression of tumor. Smokers have lower levels of estrogens and lower rate of obesity. So it has found that tobacco smoking, it reduces, okay, the rate of the tumor. Okay, it does not lead to increase in the uterine cancer, but it has been found that it lowers the level of estrogen. Therefore, there is less chances for developing endometrial cancer. Next, coming to the signs and symptoms of uterine cancer, first patient will have bleeding or watery discharge from the vagina, difficulty in urinating, that is dysuria or painful urination, pain while urinating, back pain, swelling in the legs, and in later stages of the disease, females may have pelvic pain and experience of unexplained weight loss. Okay, so these are some of the signs and symptoms of uterine cancer. Now coming to the diagnostic test. So first is we will perform an TVS, ultrasound. Okay, so transvaginal ultrasound or TVS, it is an ultrasound which uses sound waves, okay, to create a picture of the internal organ. So with the help of sound waves, we will able to view the uterus. Okay, we will able to see the cervix also. If endometrium looks too thick, then the doctor may decide to perform a biopsy. So I have to check whether that thickness is because of the hyperplasia or not. Then hysteroscopy. Hysteroscope allows doctors to do a visual examination of the endometrium. So hysteroscopy also is a visual examination. Okay, they will be able to see the uterus. They will be able to see the endometrium, myometrium. Then they will be able to see the cervix also. Next is the biopsy, testing for endometrial cancer or endometrial hyperplasia. So biopsy is taking a small sample of tissue out, and we will send it to check for any presence of endometrial cancer or hyperplasia. Next is CT scan and MRI. Both are used to measure the size of the tumor. Then blood test, CA-125 blood test. It's CA-125. It is a substance which is released in the bloodstream. Okay, the normal value is less than 35 units per ml. So if the level of CA-125, okay, in the blood, if it is more than 35 units uh, per ml, then it is considered to be abnormal. Okay, and in someone with endometrial cancer, high blood of CA-125 levels, it suggests that the patient has uterine cancer, has endometrial cancer, and it can spread beyond the uterus. Okay, so the CA-125 blood test is also very important to detect whether the patient is having endometrial cancer, and if the normal is less than 35 units per ml. If it is more than 35 units per ml, then we can detect for endometrial cancer. Next, coming to the treatment. Okay, so once cancer has been diagnosed, then the treatment will depend upon the stages. Okay, the stages of endometrial cancer are as follows. So stage 1, cancer is found only in the uterus. Okay, the tumor is found only in the uterus. It is only placed within the uterus, then it is called stage 1. Stage 2, when the cancer is present in both the uterus and in the cervix. Stage 3 is when the cancer has spread beyond the uterus but it has not reached the rectum and the bladder. Okay, the pelvic area lymph nodes, they are affected. Okay, so if the tumor is only spreading to the lymph nodes, then we can say it is stage 3. Okay, but we should see also that the cancer it has not reached the rectum and the bladder. Stage 4 is when the cancer has spread past the pelvic region and affects the bladder, the rectum, and more distant parts of the body. Okay, so stage 4 is it is the advanced stage, and it shows that cancer has spread to the other parts of the body also. So the combinations of treatments are recommended. Okay, so there are surgeries. Okay, one is the surgical management, second is chemotherapy, radiation therapy also can be started. So in surgery, there are two surgical management. One is hysterectomy, that is removal of the uterus. Okay, and second is lymph node dissection, means we will only remove the affected lymph nodes whether the tumor has spread. Okay, so these are the surgical management. Now coming to the then we have the chemotherapy also. Okay, and hormonal therapy also can be given to the patient, or radiation therapy. So in hormone therapy for uterine cancer involves the hormone progesterone. Okay, so here in hormone therapy we will give progesterone tablets or pills. Other hormone therapies include the aromatase inhibitors, which are often used for the treatment for breast cancer, such as tablet, anastrozole or letrozole. So in breast cancer also we will give hormonal therapy. Okay, and in breast cancer the aromatase inhibitors such as anastrozole and letrozole, they are used for breast cancer. But these also they can be given in uterine cancer. And aromatase inhibitors, or AI, is a drug that reduces the amount of estrogen levels in the woman's body by stopping the tissues and organs other than the ovaries from producing it. Okay, so here hormonal therapies is also very important for uterine cancer, because it reduces the estrogen hormone. Okay, the levels of estrogen hormone with the help of the drugs like anastrozole or letrozole. Then hormone therapy may be used for women who cannot have surgery or radiation therapy, or in combination. So if surgery is not performed in the patient, or radiation therapy is not performed, then we can give hormonal therapy in combination. The chemotherapy often includes the combination of injection doxorubicin plus injection cisplatin plus flaxitide. So this is a combination with the chemotherapy drugs in combination. Then bevacizumab blocks the angiogenesis, that is the formation of new blood vessels, and is under evaluation in clinical trials. Then injection pazopanib, it blocks the angiogenesis and stops the growth of cancer cells. So these are some of the medications also that we will give. Okay. So apart from this, radiation therapy is also performed. Okay, it can be external radiation therapy or internal radiation therapy based on the stages of cancer. So we have come to the end of the topic for today. So I hope this is clear about uterine cancer. Okay. So thank you, class.